Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
There's only 2 undefeated teams in our division, and we'll be battling for that first spot this week. And so big challenge. You know, somebody's gonna leave Saturday afternoon in control of their destiny, and somebody's not. So both teams want the same thing. Both teams want to win the division. So this is a championship caliber type of game.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a beautiful Friday evening in South Carolina. Phil Kornbluth from locations undisclosed tonight, little hidden away bungalow along the coast. K-Mac, Kevin McCrary, back in our studios in downtown Columbia, equally unidentifiable, hidden away, not quite as beautiful as where I am right now. Jarmart, Jared Rogers Martin, also in the studio, taking your phone calls, entertaining you as he puts you on hold, and answering any of your questions that you do not want to share with us. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. We welcome your predictions about Clemson, NC State, and any of the big games coming up tomorrow, Ohio State and Wisconsin, Tennessee and Alabama, et cetera, et cetera. 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Don't forget, if you lose us over the airwaves for whatever reason, or you never found us over the airwaves, but you want to find us, go to our website. You can listen to the audio stream via the website, the video stream via the website. You can also catch us on iHeartRadio, Myrtle Beach affiliate and Greenville affiliate on iHeartRadio, and also our stations that stream via the TuneIn app, including our Columbia affiliate that hardly ever interrupts us, except for an occasional Citadel football game on Thursday night. Kev Cohen is with us all the time. All right, K-Mac, I know you're feeling good. You were a little worried last night about your Dodgers, but congratulations. You now get to be the team that America will root against because everybody loves the Cubbies.
Everybody loves the Cubbies. Well, we'll see. I'm a little groggy. I'm not going to lie. That was a long game last night, an hour and 6 minutes just for the 7th inning. But it was a lot of drama. You know how it is, Corn, with postseason baseball. There is nothing more intense in sports than postseason baseball, where you're living and dying by every single pitch. And that game certainly had a lot of twists and turns. Really, anybody watching that game was probably emotionally involved. It's one of those crazy back and forth games. I don't know that I've ever seen one quite like that. It was a lot of fun to watch.
It was fantastic. And I thought Dave Roberts had a really good night making his decisions for the Dodgers. I thought Dusty Baker didn't have such a good night making his decisions for the Nationals. Now, you know, you do, as you move forward, of course, you do all you can to win that game to be able to move forward. But you go to Chicago with your pitching somewhat, one arm tied behind your back because no Kershaw for a little while, no closer for a little while. So you really, and you're on the road, so you really have to point towards the Cubs and give them, at least in the first couple of games, the early advantage.
Definitely. I mean, even if the Dodgers had their rotation set up, the Cubs are really, really good. Their lineup is scary. They score a ton of runs. It's going to be a tall order for the Dodgers. But we'll see. Stranger things have happened. I do like this Dodger team. They kind of grind. It's a little different than a lot of these other Dodger teams that had a lot of prima donnas. They've got a lot of different guys playing a lot of different roles, and they're fun to watch. And I hope it keeps going. That was a fun night. That's one of the better nights that I've had as a Dodger fan in a while because they haven't had a lot of October moments like that in my lifetime.
And you had to hold on at the end. I mean, the showdown between Daniel Murphy and Kershaw, I mean, that's a classic power pitcher power hitter kind of guy. And this time Kershaw won. So
yeah. And how about
and the poor guy?
Yeah.
The poor guy who I don't know who. I don't follow the Nationals very much. Who had to come up with the last at bat. I mean, those eyes looked like flying saucers. He looked totally intimidated.
24.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Dave Roberts, and this is something that comes up when we talk about college baseball a lot, Corn. The way coaches use their pitchers and when they go back to them in the College World Series. You've seen this come up. Ray Tanner took a lot of heat when he was in the College World Series when he brought back Michael Roth. But on that level, on the college level and on the pro level, and when you're on that stage, that's why they want to play the game. That's why Clayton Kershaw is a baseball player. That's why these guys want to be in that situation, and they want the ball in their hands. And if they tell you they can get an out or two, then you give them the ball. You hand it to them. Now, if the trainer says, no, I was with him, I don't like the way he looked, or in the bullpen coach says, his velocity wasn't good in there. But if the guy says he wants the ball, give him the ball. And bringing Jansen in with no outs in the 7th, you're ripping up the conventional playbook there when people say, no, you don't bring your closer in. He can only get 4 outs, 5 outs max. You don't, maybe 6, but you don't bring him in for 9 outs. And he stretched Kenley Jansen out. And I thought that was a gutsy call, and it worked out for him. He was going to go down with his best. If they were going to lose to the Nationals were going to have to beat his best 2 pitchers. And I love that. Not a lot of coaches would have had that kind of fortitude, and it's not endangering the players. These guys are professionals. Now, even on the college level, these kids, they know when they want the ball. They know when they can pitch. I think too much is made of it, and we've seen too many hot takes over the years about coaches that don't care about their players. I'll say this, Dave Roberts pulled not 1, but 2 pitchers out this season that had either a no-hitter or a perfect game. He pulled Aaron Hill out with 2 outs in the 7th inning, and he had a perfect game going just because Aaron Hill was starting to get a blister on his finger, and he said, I need him in the postseason more than I need him now, and he pulled him out of the game. So yeah. Dave Roberts cares about his pitchers, but he saves them for the right times and uses them at the right time.
And on the other side of it, Dusty Baker, he takes out Scherzer on 99 pitches. He gives up the home run, and, he probably today's thinking, I should have ridden that horse a little bit longer. He still had more pitches left in that arm. He wasn't struggling from a fatigue standpoint as far as we could tell, but he gave up the home run, and he pulled him, and then they had trouble getting out of the inning after that. So I just really managed last night by Dave Roberts, and thus the Dodgers move forward. All right, Clemson and NC State, we'll talk more about that. I did not last night. I wanted to talk about USC quarterback and Jake Bentley and my thoughts on that. And simply, I don't think it's a good idea to take the red shirt off of Jake Bentley at this point, simply because Jake Bentley, he's not going to make the offensive line better just by his presence. He's not going to make the receiving core better by his presence, I don't believe, unless he's morphed into this great quarterback over the last few weeks. If he was clearly the better quarterback of the 3 that they have seen in practice, he would have been playing by now. And so, Perry Orth is capable of moving the team through the air, and Brandon McElwain is capable of moving the team with the zone read. Why not just stick with a combo? Don't sentence one to the sideline for the sake of the other. Use both. And when the defense thinks it's an obvious run situation or pass situation because of the quarterback, then switch it up, because McElwain can throw a little bit and Orth can throw a little bit. I think the best move for South Carolina right now is to hold Bentley out and to preserve this entire redshirt year for him, and then have him fresh for 4 full years moving forward.
Well, that's what I would tend to think too, and I've tried to rack my brain and understand why it might happen, and we don't know if it will for sure. But maybe 6 games of experience is greater than having that redshirt year and having him ready to go next year as a starter with 6 games under his belt, where he's had that learning curve, he's made his mistakes, he's figured things out, and you're ready to rock and roll in year 2. And as Will Merritt pointed out, Will Muschamp's a win-now type of guy. He's not thinking about next year right now. He's thinking about, how can I beat UMass? How can I beat the team coming up in these next 6 games, not the 12 next year?
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network here on a Friday night, closing out a rather crazy week in our state. I'm glad things have calmed down to some degree. I'm not saying everything is perfect in our hard-hit areas of the state, but perhaps things are getting back to normal. High school football on tap for tonight. We'll talk with David Shelton in the next hour, get his take on tonight's key games. We have the Governors coming up here at the bottom of the hour. Lee Sterling following them with our Sterling picks for the night. Harold Nichols, head coach at Presbyterian College, will join us after 7 o'clock. The Blue Hose, winners last night over Monmouth in a game that went down to the final play in Clinton. We'll talk with Coach Nichols about the big win. The Pro has contacted us with his picks to complete our this week's. So since he wants Ohio State giving the 10 to Wisconsin, he wants North Carolina getting the 7.5 against Miami. He wants Ole Miss getting the 7.5 at Arkansas. He wants Tennessee getting the 13 against Alabama. And he wants Clemson laying the 17.5 against NC State. We'll talk more about the games coming up. I want to go back to what we were saying about Jake Bentley. Here's the other thing that I would be concerned about. What if you go with Jake? Okay, fine and dandy. For whatever reason, he goes out there and he struggles at quarterback. Maybe the line isn't blocking well. He gets sacked. Receivers drop balls. He makes bad reads. I mean, he is a true freshman. He should be in his senior year of high school. He's even younger than what a true freshman should be in terms of grade-wise. I think age-wise, he's right on
there. Yeah, he got held
the right
back
age because of – yeah, exactly. But in terms of grade, he should be in his senior year of high school. But now, look, kids have different levels of maturity, and age doesn't always define maturity. And he's obviously, I think, a pretty mature young man. But let's just say he goes out there and he struggles. And so now you've got kind of a bad taste in your mouth for all three of your quarterbacks, including the two program who you consider to be your franchise guys, even though they are young and they've got plenty of time to work on it and improve. I don't know. I don't know what Muschamp is going to do. I've read various opinions from insiders. As we mentioned earlier this week, I think you did, Tony Morrell from the Big Spur pretty much, well, I'm not saying he guaranteed, but he basically stated based on his information that Bentley is likely to be the starter against Massachusetts, or could very well be the starter. I can't recall the exact words. So, there is precedence. Of course, you go back to the early 90s under Sparky Woods when the Gamecocks opened up 0-5 and they had the revolt and all that. And Steve Tannehill, who was a freshman, I think he was being held out. Then, he starts the last 6 games and the Gamecocks go 5, including a win at Clemson. And really, lit a fire under the program, even though, Sparky was fired after that. So, I think the best thing for this South Carolina team at this point is to just hold firm with your two quarterbacks, and use them both. Orth can throw the football from the 30 to the 30. We've seen he's very good between the 30s, throwing the football and moving the team. He has trouble when they get down inside the red zone, and that's where I think maybe he lacks some of the skills of an SEC high-level quarterback. McElwain has shown that he can run the zone read, and if he relies on his reflexes and his quick thinking, and not to a preordained call of action, he can make plays off the zone read. So I don't see any reason why you just don't stick with that and save Bentley. I know and Muschamp has made it clear that he wants to try to win every game that he can. Mm-hmm. And he's still trying to do that with this season and try and get this team to a bowl game and try and get them to 6 wins. But, I just don't see where Bentley alone is going to make all the difference. Now, maybe getting Donnell Stanley back healthy and back in the offensive line and having Blake Camper back healthy and able to play, maybe all of a sudden that offensive line gets a little bit better.
Yeah, and if they can keep Deebo Samuel healthy for the final 6 games, he showed what he can do. If they can make him a big part of the offense, which was originally their plan. He was going to be targeted early and often. And when he went down, they were in scramble mode. And then Brian Edwards went down and missed a game and some action that set things back a little bit. But Jake Bentley, in the 2 practices that were open to the media, looked good. I will say that. He could make all the throws. Now, we're not out there every day, and if you read the reports that he hasn't been working with the scout team, he's been working with the offense and still get reps in practices each week. But unless he can turn the season around, I do think you hold him out. That would be the conventional wisdom. But we just talked about how sometimes you have to throw away the conventional wisdom, and you can't put a value on experience. And if he plays half a season and he gets that experience, okay, he has 3 years left. So he can go into year 2 as a sophomore with 6 years under his belt and hit the ground running and be better than he would if he wins the job during the spring or summer next year and has to go in there and take his lumps. He can take those lumps now against Clemson, against Florida, against Tennessee, down the stretch, and learn the ropes, because he's going to make mistakes. He's a freshman, a true freshman that wasn't here in the spring, unlike McElwain. And we saw McElwain, who had all this hype and everybody wanted him to start day 1. And now we see why he didn't start day 1. He wasn't ready. I haven't given up on him, though, Corn. I still think Brandon McElwain has a role and can do things for this offense. He just wasn't ready and isn't ready. But playing him is okay, too. Perry Orth is their best quarterback right now, for better or worse. He's their best quarterback that we've seen. I have seen nothing that tells me that Brandon McElwain gives them a better chance right now to win than Perry Orth. Nothing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Orth does give them that down the field passing threat, and with the receivers getting healthy and getting back into the mix, it gives a little something to the attack that McElwain has not been able to give them. Again, I think a combination of the two is something that could work. And maybe they've looked at that some in practice during this off week and are considering that as well. You know, I just wouldn't throw Jake Bentley out there and sit Orth and McElwain down and just have them stuck away in the corner somewhere. Unless Bentley goes out there and lights up Massachusetts for 350 yards and all of a sudden he's just this red-hot sensation. He might very well be. We won't know unless he gets that opportunity. But then, you know, things get tougher when you face Tennessee and Florida and folks like that on down the line. All right, 7266 is our number here on Sports Talk. Our email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. That's how you can reach us. Those a variety of ways. And, of course, Sports Talk is brought to you by here on South Carolina Radio Network, the South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. Clemson and NC State set to do battle tomorrow afternoon at noon. K-Mac, you're heading up there. I suggest you leave now.
Yeah.
It's homecoming. It's a noon kickoff. NC State's going to bring some fans to tie up the back roads. Gosh, you better leave early.
Yeah, I'll leave early. I expect it to be a pretty big crowd there for homecoming and an undefeated team. It's the Textile Bowl. These teams are both, as Dabo Swinney will tell you, Corn, they're both still battling for the division title.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. All right, quickly, we jump to the phone calls here on Sports Talk on this Friday night. Charles in Spartanburg, welcome into Sports Talk. We got about 40 seconds before the break.
Okay. I'll make it quick. That just reminds me of the way Spurrier did with Connor Shaw when he put him in for that one play and ruined his 4 years. We could have had him another year.
Yeah, it was more than a play. It was a quarter against Auburn, but I do think that was a mistake. And Garcia was starting to struggle, but had played pretty well for 3 quarters, and the Gamecocks let that one against Auburn get away from them. An Auburn team that ended up winning the whole thing.
It's a decision that Muschamp and the staff will have to make. It's why he gets paid the money he gets paid, and he needs to be very wise and consider the future as well as the here and now in making that decision. Governors coming up. And welcome back into Sports Talk on this Friday night. Phil Kornblum, Kevin McCrary, together with you once again. Professor Tom Hayes remains off for one final night. He'll be back with us next week. It is now time for the most anticipated segments of Sports Talk any given week during the football season. It is not here when we talk to former NFL stars. It is not here where we talk to former college football All-Americans. It is here where we talk to two of the great leaders of all time of the state of South Carolina, and David Beasley. Governor Hodges, how are you?
Oh, I had a tough week last week, Phil. I'm doing okay otherwise.
Yeah, looks like you were, shall we say, groping for winners last week?
Well, the only person that had a worse week than me was Donald Trump, I can tell you that.
1-4 for you, Governor Hodges. Governor Beasley, you're red hot. You're 4-1, and you're making a move.
It's about time. I think sports fans anticipate this segment better than they were anticipating the Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump big debate.
Hey, Nielsen tells us our numbers go through the roof when you two are on.
Well, Jim had a bad week. I was very fortunate because I've been having a little slow run, but now we're back in the hunt again, so it's going to be a good time this weekend. No hurricanes on the horizon, and let's get her going.
Absolutely. Now, when you two ran against each other, how many times did y'all debate, Governor?
David, how many? Maybe 3? Is that about right?
No, I can't remember those things out of my mind.
Me too. They all run together. It was probably 3.
Governor Hodges, did you threaten to lock up Governor Beasley?
Well, he actually had
before, during, or after the debate.
I got to say,
we actually would have a good time talking before and after the debate. It was just during the debate you got to kind of testy there.
Yeah, we never threatened to lock each other up. I can tell you that.
I'm glad you two can laugh about it. I don't think there'll be a lot of laughing when this particular episode of politics is done in our country. All right, let's get to what is more serious than anything else, and that is you two picking games. Governor Beasley with a 4-1 week, very impressive. 17-13. You're a game back of Governor Hodges, 1-4. 18-12. So, Governor Beasley, we'll let you pick first since you're still trailing by a game. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. To the Big Ten, where neither one of you could get into school. But still, Ohio State at Wisconsin, and it's Wisconsin at home getting 10 points, Governor Beasley.
I'm going to go with the home field advantage with those double digits points of 10. Wisconsin's really good at keeping games ugly, so I'm going to go with Wisconsin.
Okay, Governor Hodges?
I think I'm going to do the same. I think the Badgers at home, 10 points is an awful lot, so I'll take Wisconsin as well with points.
Yeah, that looked awfully meaty to me, too, getting 10 points at home. You're Wisconsin. I know it's Ohio State and da-da-da-da, but 10 points that's a nice cushion to start with at home. North Carolina at Miami. One was blown out last week. One suffered heartbreak. Miami is favored by 7.5 at home. Governor Beasley.
Well, I picked North Carolina every week so far, and I hadn't won one with them yet. The odds are I got to win one with them. I don't think UNC is as bad as it looked last week, but 7.5 points. I'm going to pick UNC one more time.
All right, Governor Hodges, what do you think, sir?
I think he's right on that. I mean, it's good. Miami hadn't played anybody until last week, and things certainly didn't work out real well for him. I think UNC is a really bad game, so I'll take UNC with points.
All right, both of you want the Heels. Ole Miss at Arkansas. Arkansas getting 7 at home. Governor Beasley.
This is going to be an interesting pick. I think Ole Miss and Arkansas will be tight, and I think Ole Miss is going to pull it away at the end, even though Arkansas's got the home field advantage. I don't think 7.5 points is enough, so I'm going with Ole Miss.
Okay, you got him, Governor Hodges.
And I'll take the other side of that. I think the Hogs do for the game. I think the Hogs are actually going to win this one.
Okay, you like Arkansas. You know, Chad Kelly got in a fight last week at his brother's high school game, so he's usually pretty good coming off an outburst like that. But
he didn't have to use his AK.
Yeah, really. So, Governor Hodges, you want Arkansas, correct?
I do. You think Chad will tear the playbook up like he did at
Clemson? There is no telling. There is no telling. The big game in the SEC, Alabama at Tennessee. You know, Vols fans, they want this one in the worst way, especially after losing last week. They're getting 13 at home. Governor Beasley, is that enough?
Oh, boy. And let me talk a little quiet. Mary Wood's in the next room over there, you know. With them Alabama cheeks of hers. And so I think Tennessee's they're going to make it interesting. I think they'll lose their second in a row, but they're going to keep it close. Home field advantage with 13 points. I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Tennessee getting the points. Governor Hodges, what do you think, sir?
I'm with Governor Beasley on this. 13 points is a lot, and Tennessee, after the game with A&M, Tennessee's going to be ready to play a good one. So I think it's going to be really close. I'll take the points in Tennessee.
All right, very good. To our final game. It is NC State at Clemson. I'm sure Governor Beasley will be there. It's homecoming. Nothing like getting back on campus with the old chums and hanging out, Governor Beasley, eh?
We're looking for a great game tomorrow. And I tell you, I'm going to go with Clemson. They have really shown their stuff. And, you know, some people think the NC State's, you know, they're a little bit better, but they ain't played a good team. And they're playing a good team tomorrow. So won't be close. Clemson all the way.
All the way. Governor Beasley, what do you recall as your favorite social moment from your years at Clemson as a student?
I'll plead the Fifth Amendment.
That means he doesn't remember.
Is that because you can't remember, or is it just, you know, there's too many to recall?
There's too many to recall. I'm getting too old to remember, but I tell you, those are, and I know Jim would agree, those college years are the greatest years of your life, and the friendships that develop, and playing the sports and having fun, and oh my gosh, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. But here we are, getting old and living through the lives of our children and grandchildren.
There you go. K-Mac, you have something?
I was going to say some of my favorite college experiences were so fun I didn't remember them the next day. So that's
I think that's the case. That's the case for a lot of us. All right, Governor Hodges, what do you think about Clemson and State? The Tigers laying 17.5.
Yeah, I was going to say, as long as Governor Beasley doesn't have to plead the Fourth Amendment, he's okay on everything. I'm with, you know, I learned my lesson last week. I thought there'd be a letdown for Clemson with Boston College, and there wasn't. I mean, we're seeing Watson, the best player who's ever put the Tiger uniform on. So I'm going to take Clemson. I think they're really good, and I think they'll win it big.
Okay, so, gentlemen, you only disagree on one game, Arkansas and Ole Miss. Governor Beasley, we now move into that period known as amendments. Would you like to make an amendment on your side of the aisle here?
I'm feeling good about my picks.
You like your picks. Clemson, Tennessee, Ole Miss, North Carolina, Wisconsin. Governor Hodges, any amendments you care to offer up?
No, same here. I feel pretty good about them.
Okay. Well, there'll be only a move of one then, because you only differ on one game. Guys, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
You bet.
Okay.
Thank you. Governors Jim Hodges and David Beasley. We thank them for being with us here on Sports Talk. So they are a like mind this weekend for the most part, except for the Arkansas and Ole Miss game. All right. I don't remember those debates between Hodges and Beasley, but I would imagine they were pretty lively back in the day when those two were banging heads running for governor. That would have been, back in the 80s, I guess it was. Is that right? My years have all run together. We'll come back with the professional Lee Sterling and his Sterling picks in a moment.
Need some insight for this weekend's games? Our Sterling picks are on the way. This is Sports Talk.
By the way, I looked it up. It was actually the late 1990s. You probably knew that. I didn't know that. Couldn't remember the late 1990s when Beasley was governor. He was the 113th governor in the history of South Carolina. And then in 98, Hodges beat him. He became the 114th governor. We are now on Governor 116.
We fire through our governors here in South Carolina. We've had 44 presidents and over 100 governors. How about that? Learn something every day.
Okay, it is time now for some professional help here on Sports Talk. You know, we can all use some professional help from time to time, and we are included in that group as we welcome in our good friend Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. Good evening, Lee. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Wasn't as bad as the 58-0 loss to Clemson last year, but that missed extra point, that was tough. That was maybe not. I shouldn't say tough. It was shocking.
Yeah,
kid had made 70 in a row. It made 70 in a row.
It looked like you guys had that game under control going into the second half, and then you lost control.
Well, I think there was so much energy in that stadium. Probably the most energy I've seen at a Miami game probably since they've been back in the Orange Bowl. So I think the kids fed off of it. And Florida State, you know, they're except for the Louisville game, they're like a prize fighter. They see what you got. They saw what Miami's best 15 to 20 plays were, and they took it, and they're like, okay, now we're going to come back. And Jimbo Fisher, great play caller.
Yeah, no question about it. And, you know, even though you roughed up the quarterback, I tell you what, that's a tough kid. And he came back and he made some big throws. And, of course, they got Cook going too. So that's what they have to do. They get Cook going.
It's going to be fun to see him leave. He beat us single-handedly 3 straight years.
Yeah, I know you'll be glad when that deal is up. All right, so you had a 1-1 week with us. How about overall?
Overall, the same with my clients. Went 8-8 for the week. So looking for a breakout week. 3 tough losses in the pros. We had Chicago, which dominated the stats, outstatted them by Indy by over 250 yards, but key turnover cost us there. And USC, the guy's running and looks like he's going to the end zone. He takes a knee at the 2-yard line, and then the backdoor touchdown in the Texas Tech game against Kansas State. So when you're going well, you win those games. Yeah.
Were you stung by the Georgia onside kickoff return for a touchdown? Did that?
No, I didn't have that game. Didn't have the game. I stay away from games that are rescheduled. There's some weird dynamics. I mean, look at Charlotte. Charlotte, you know, they bring in a backup quarterback to start, and they end up beating FAU. So just weird things happen when they reschedule games the next day.
Okay. Tell folks where to go to get your information over the weekend and any specials.
Well, this is what we're going to do. We have a lot of people call this month October. We call it Loctober, and what I do is you get every game from now through the end of October, Monday, October 31st, for just $297. All you need to do is use coupon code SAVE100, $297. And this week, I have a game that's a 40 to 50 unit play. It's my biggest unit play, and we're documented 28-5 on these plays over the last 7 years. So ParamountSports.com, coupon code SAVE100. Get the Loctober special, all 3 weeks of games.
Sounds good. All right, let's get to the slate that you have for us, beginning with Florida State, favored by 21 against Wake Forest.
Yeah, and you don't see a whole lot and get a whole lot from these coaches' interviews, but I was listening in Tallahassee, I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday, and listened to Jimbo Fisher, and he said his team was beaten up physically after the Miami game. And I think that they're going to look at the Wake Forest. They're nothing fancy, but they don't turn the ball over. Only 4 turnovers in 6 games this year offensively, and they play well on the road, 4-1 against the spread on the road. I think Florida State's going to win 28-10, but I like Wake Forest to cover.
All right, very good. How about the big one in the SEC? And, of course, everyone will be watching nationally. Alabama favored by 13 at Tennessee.
Yeah, and you got to really love this Tennessee team if you're a college football fan. I mean, they don't give up against Florida when everyone thinks they're being left for dead. Then they come back on the Hail Mary, and they turned the ball over 7 times last week, and they take AM to overtime before they lost. But when you face an Alabama team, Alabama right now, because they're ranked number 1, the point spreads are inflated. And I think for Alabama to cover, they're going to need to continue to get defensive and special team scores. And I think that's tough. And the Vols only lost 19-14 last year in Tuscaloosa. I have Bama winning 31-21, but the Vols covering the inflated spread.
All right, that's still not going to make the Vols fans happy.
No, but we got to call it like we see it.
Oh, yeah, listen, to make your wallet happy, you'll be happy.
That's right.
Clemson favored by, you've got 17. Clemson favored by 17 against NC State.
Yeah, and NC State beat Notre Dame here, and they played their hearts out, and that was a big game for them. But 14 of the last 17 times North Carolina State has played, the favorite has covered. So what that means, they usually beat the teams that they're better than, but the teams that they're not as talented as, they just can't match up. And Clemson's finally getting on a roll here offensively. The down game for them, if there was going to be one, it was going to be that Boston College game against a respectable D. They routed them. And the problem here for North Carolina State, they got to get some takeaways. That's how you beat Clemson. But they only have 2 interceptions on the year this year. I like Clemson big here. Katie bar the door. Clemson 55, North Carolina State 20.
Ooh, another big scoring day for the Tigers against State. By the way, on the 22nd, what are you thinking that line will be for Clemson, Florida State at this point?
That game is, where's that game at?
Tallahassee.
I think Clemson's going to be 3.5, 4.
3.5, 4. Okay,
yep.
Very good. Your game of the week is, the Hurricanes laying 9 against the Tar Heels.
Great matchup here. 2 teams fighting for the Coastal Championship. First 5 callers get it for free, 800-400-9741. And as I said, Locktober, from now through the end of October, 3 weeks of action. Use coupon code SAVE100, and you will get my 40 to 50 unit selection for tomorrow. So ParamountSports.com or 800-400-9741.
As always, my friend, we certainly appreciate it. Good luck. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports with us here on Sports Talk. All right, let me jump into recruiting before we hit the top of the hour. Per Gamecock Central, offensive lineman Crozian Calvert, 6'5", 295, McMinnville, Tennessee, has set an official to USC October 29th. He was at USC for the A&M game. 2020 linebacker Kevin Swint to be at Clemson. Defensive back Renard Bozeman, Lauderdale Lakes, Florida, continues to hear from USC. Defensive coordinator, secondary coach Travaris Robinson. He remains strongly interested in the Gamecocks. He's also talking to Central Florida, South Florida, Syracuse, Mississippi State, Indiana, West Virginia, Florida State, and others. Has an official to UCF October 22nd. A top 3 of USC, Mississippi State, and UCF. Talking with USC about a visit later on this month. USC remains in touch with offensive lineman Austin Pine of Ashburnham, Massachusetts. USC is waiting to see his senior film closer. Former Tennessee offensive line commitment Jordan Tucker of Roswell, Georgia, said USC is one of the schools he's considering, but he is totally open and considering all his options now. USC target defensive back Jonathan Abram, Jones Junior College, Mississippi, has sent officials to Louisville December 2nd, Ole Miss December 10th. He's also looking at USC for an official visit. That's recruiting. It's the top of the hour here on Sports Talk. We've got Harold Nichols, David Shelton, and more coming up for you. Stay with us here on Sports Talk.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Back Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a very nice, pleasant Friday evening in the Palmetto State, the kind of Friday that we need after what we had last Friday. Phil Kornbluth and Kevin McCrary at your service here on Sports Talk, and let's jump right to the guest line as we welcome in Presbyterian enjoying his Friday night because, well, you got nothing to worry about for tomorrow. You got your win in the pocket last night, 17-13 over Monmouth. Congratulations on that. You even your league record at 1-1.
Yeah, it was a good night, Bill. I tell you, it was came off of a short turnaround. We had played Gardner Webb up there last Saturday night and got the turnaround and on a short week and played a really good Monmouth team. A Monmouth team that had beaten Fordham and Lehigh, beaten Delaware State and Howard out of the MEAC, and they played a good Ohio team to a 2-score game. So we were really fortunate to get the win last night. Thought our kids played really well, and excited to have that one underneath our belt. Get going to next week's game against Charleston Southern.
Yeah, for sure. And, well, it went right down to the last play. They're knocking on the door with a chance to pull. Came up big. You got a very nice play in your end zone by your secondary to save the day.
Yeah, they did. It was kind of one of those type of games where you knew it was going to come down probably to a last possession type of thing. And real proud of the way our defense stepped up. It was a game of momentum, but real proud of the way our defense stepped up. We had a goal line stand. They had the ball, I think, 1st and 10 on our 18-yard line with a little bit over a minute to go, and our defense stepped up and made plays.
You had little more offense last night, especially through the air, 258 passing yards. Not so much on the ground for you last night, 81 yards. Was that by design of the kind of game plan you had coming in, or do you just credit Monmouth and their ability to stop the run?
Well, I think, the way defensively they had kind of set their defense up, we knew we would have some opportunities to get the ball thrown down the field. They're kind of a feast or famine kind of a defense, and it kind of puts you in a bind a little bit running the football. And I think we're improving there offensively. Getting the ball thrown down the field, and I'm an old quarterback myself, and I like football as much as the next guy. And I really felt like that there were some things that we could take advantage of, and in the passing game we were able to do that. And really, for the last 3 weeks, we've been able to kind of be a little bit more balanced and not have to rely so much on the run game. And we were able to get some balls thrown down the field last night.
Yeah. Now, looking at your stats, you used Cheek threw for 135, Walker for 123. Was that by design to work in two quarterbacks pretty evenly from that standpoint?
No, sir. We've been hit with some injuries there at that position this year. Ben Cheek has been our starter going into it. He got hurt against Chattanooga up there in the second week of the year, and then our backup quarterback Will Brock, a left-handed kid from North Georgia, had hurt his foot against Florida Tech here at home, and so really John Walker was kind of our third guy. So John had come in and played really well. Especially last night. We didn't turn the football over and really managed our offense and did some things that, they had to do there in the second half that put us in the end zone. So, we kind of had to have a next man up kind of mentality, and that's what we did last night. And credit goes to John Walker, did a really nice job there in the second half.
So what is your quarterback situation moving forward towards Charleston Southern?
Well, we're still working through it. It'll be a little bit day-to-day on Ben. I thought Ben was playing really well there in the first half. Really made some nice throws and was really operating really well. And then he gets hurt, I guess, the first or second series in the third quarter. So I think it'll be kind of a day-to-day thing. I don't think it's anything that's going to keep them out for any extended period of time. But we'll have to get probably John ready, and then have a game plan for a good Charleston Southern team.
Yeah, no question about that. All right, so yesterday, while you're getting ready to play your game, the news breaks about LSU and Florida getting rescheduled. And, of course, that impacts you guys because you were supposed to go to Florida, and now you get bumped from that trip. What are your thoughts about not getting that opportunity?
Well, obviously we were disappointed in not having the opportunity to go down there and play in that kind of atmosphere, for our kids and our program. Obviously, Hurricane Matthew came through the East Coast there and really disrupted a lot of people's lives, and no more than those folks down there in Gainesville. And so unfortunate that they weren't able to get that game played. We certainly understand the importance of a Florida LSU game with the SEC and all the interest, especially here in the fan base here in the state of South Carolina. And so we were just glad that we were able to help. Obviously disappointed in not having the opportunity to play that game, but know that in their conference standings and for the championship game, their bowl seedings, with the SEC, that they needed to get that game played. And obviously the November 19th was something that they settled on. And really, I got news of it right before we went out to warm up last night before the game. So really don't know a lot of the details yet with everything, but we were glad that we were able to cooperate with Mr. Foley down there, the AD at Florida, and give them an opportunity to play that LSU game. Sure.
Now, is there a chance you and South Alabama will get together to make up the game since both of you are losing the game?
Yeah, I think Brian Reese, our athletic director, has talked with them. There's a lot of things that go into making a game like that happen. So those kind of talks are ongoing. Nothing was settled today. I do know that South Alabama's got some options, and we do too, and just not sure exactly which way it's going to go yet. But obviously they're in a need for a game there on the 19th after not being able to go to LSU. When they've got bowl implications, and they've already got an FCS game on their schedule, so there's going to have to be some things that are sorted out there that weren't finished today. So I'm sure that'll go on going through the weekend, and hopefully we'll have something here in the next day or two and know whether that'll occur or not.
All right. As far as your team is concerned now, 1-1 in the league, and you've got Charleston Southern, Coastal, Liberty, and Kennesaw State coming up, and 2 are at home and 2 are on the road. So how do you feel about your chances for making a difference in this league race and perhaps getting in there and making a run for the top yourself?
Well, I think obviously feel a lot better about things after last night's game. Mine was a really good team. The thing about the Big South, Phil, is, top to bottom each and every week. You mentioned Kennesaw. Kennesaw had played a really good Furman team up there, beat them, and Liberty's doing well. Gardner Webb's a tough opponent. Charleston Southern obviously has got things rolling. So our league's really tough, and obviously a big challenge going down to Charleston Southern down there next weekend. They're a nationally ranked team, and Coach Chadwell has done a good job down there with that program. So we're going to be a tough task moving forward, no doubt. But again, I think our kids get some confidence from that win last night, and hopefully we can go down there and best and give ourselves a chance to win down there.
Well, we congratulate you on last night. Great victory in front of the home fans, and enjoy your weekend off, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Well, Phil, I certainly appreciate you guys having me on. You guys do a great job covering college football here in the state of South Carolina, and appreciate you so much.
Yes, sir, Coach. We thank you as well. Harold Nichols from Presbyterian. Blue Hose getting that win last night in the Big South over Monmouth. Also this weekend, SC State's at Howard, Furman at East Tennessee, Chattanooga at the Citadel, Coastal at Gardner Webb. It's Carson Newman at Newberry, Benedict at Clark Atlanta, North Greenville at Tusculum, and Brevard at Limestone. David Shelton up next here on Sports Talk.
The latest on this weekend's race is around the corner. The Full Monty on NASCAR is next. This is Sports Talk.
We welcome in Monty Dutton for the Full Monty, the latest in the world of NASCAR, as they did get the race in Charlotte. And Monty, that was one that that was a little bit of a cluster for everybody still alive in the chase. I think just about everybody near the top took some heat and some damage in that race.
Yes, with the exception of Jimmy Johnson winning, thus advancing to the next round, there's really no one who is down so far that it can't be erased.
Yeah.
Because we have had chase races in which, 8 or 9 of the top 10 were chase drivers. This was not the case this time. And 5 drivers had sort of catastrophic failures, either from blown engines or tire failures. There were a lot of accidents. And one driver who had a blown engine is in position to advance to Hamlin. And so that obviously the winner of the next race will book another passage. But I think that what Charlotte proves is that with Talladega a week after this weekend's race in Kansas, that really nothing much was Johnson's victory. So I think that what we're going to have is that everyone who doesn't have 2 bad races is probably going to advance into the 3rd round, because a lot are going to have in Talladega, and there's a distinct possibility that those outside the top 8 will just have the field come back to them. So that was a development. I don't think that people thought that Charlotte would be as untidy a race as it was, and so it's completely out of form. And then now the next race at Kansas is a track that's very similar to Charlotte.
Yeah, how much of that do you think was just based on the fact that these guys didn't get a chance to practice and they just went out there, essentially, for lack of a better term, went out there cold and just ran the race?
I think that played a role. I think it played into the hands of a team so exquisitely prepared as Johnson, because they were most adaptable and were closest to what they needed to be and probably needed to practice less. But I also think that, first of all, I think that our problems, there were a lot of cars that had tires blown. They went flying into the wall. And so I think that it'll be interesting to see how the tire combination works this weekend. And secondly, I think that maybe just all of the rain leading up to race day, just having all those cars covered up in dampness, I think that you might have seen some electrical problems, such as having the lights on the dashboard go out in the middle of the race or losing power. I think some of that might just be sort of the type of glitch that happens when automobiles are you can protect it all some effect. So I think that might have had a small role in it.
Yeah, it was definitely a topsy-turvy race for sure, and that makes for some good drama. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't know that the driver really appreciate it, but as somebody just watching it that likes to see as much drama and chaos as possible, that would be me. I'm all for it. And then Jimmy Johnson, Mr. Steady, we haven't talked about him much because he's really, as crazy as it sounds, has kind of been an afterthought, but now he's one step closer to that elusive 7th.
Well, this can be, it did happen last year, but it can be a recurring theme because Johnson has won 6 championships because basically he's been at his best the most. It's not unusual for Johnson to slump summer and then all of a sudden get it together. And in the last 2 weeks, he's led a lot of laps, and he's finished 8th, 7th, and 1st in the last 3 races. And so that average finish is 5th, I believe, something like that. And but this is the way Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus do business. They don't sweat the stuff that's not that important, and they probably experiment in the summertime, and it doesn't bother them. But they, by trial and error, find what works and what doesn't.
And now they have a chance to breathe a little bit easier going into Kansas and try to fine-tune things knowing they're in the next round. That's one of the big advantages when you win a race and you know you've advanced. You can work on tweaking things a little bit more than the guys like everybody else that we mentioned that struggled or had mechanical problems or catastrophic failures in the last race.
Well, it's just the segments matter. This segment is set up to have two similar races that maybe aren't all of that, but don't stand out, Charlotte and Kansas, and then have this huge question mark at Talladega where anyone can run into complete, anarchy, mayhem. And so the fact that Charlotte had an unusual race to start with, all right, the next segment goes from Martinsville to Texas to Phoenix. And those are very different tracks. And one aspect is that if Kevin Harvick, who was one of the ones who fell by the wayside at Charlotte, can get himself into the third round, he has the closest thing to a lead pipe cinch. Not a cinch, but he's won an awful lot at Phoenix. He seems to be capable of winning there anytime he wants to. So in the next to last race before the finale, you can just sort of see that coming if he manages to get back in the top 8.
Who do you like in Kansas this week? A few of the drivers that you have your eye on.
My first priority is he finished third last week, and I think Kyle Busch is just primed for a win. Matt Kenseth was second last week. I think that when you have this great tussle between the Joe Gibbs Toyotas that have been dominating most of the season and the Hendrick Chevrolets that have dominated most of more than a decade, I think that you sort of have that Empire Strikes Back point right now, if you consider them the bad guys or the good guys. And I think that you're going to see a reaction from the Toyota camp. And so I think they'll be strong at Kansas, but that doesn't mean that Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Harvick won't be strong too. I've just got a hunch that it's the same hunch I had last week, that Kyle Busch is due for a victory.
And Monty, remind everybody again how they can follow you and read all your good stuff, NASCAR related and other topics related.
Well, the key is that my first name has an E on the end. So you have MontyDutton.com, and you have @MontyDutton on Twitter. And I think Facebook is, I don't know, maybe Monty-Dutton. Anyway, you just do my name and you can find me. Then I write weekly columns, and I'll be writing a few extra in the rest of the year at Bleacher Report. And I write a column every week at CompetitionPlus.com. So that's the reason that I have a vast, sprawling empire is I can't make a living over a small empire.
You cast a wide net, and we appreciate it. We're glad we're a part of that net, Monty. We always enjoy your segment.
I appreciate you having me.
All right, the always humble Monty Dutton, great friend, a terrific writer, and a passionate follower of NASCAR. We thank him for his input. I think with our Tuesday night contributions from Kerry Tharp, who, by the way, called me, guys, apologized for missing us on Tuesday. He was coming back from Daytona. He was on back roads. He did not have any cell service, so he apologizes. He said he will be with us moving forward, be back with us on Tuesday night. But I love our segments with Kerry because from the folks at Darlington, whether it was Kerry or anybody else, but in Kerry's case, because he worked closely with the drivers and the teams and the crew chiefs as NASCAR's top public relations guy on the scene, he knows the inner workings from that standpoint extremely well, can share some great insight and opinions. And then Monty is that kind of outside guy, a guy that worked the beat for many, many years, inside and out, knows the scuttlebutt and the gossip and what makes everything tick. And he gives us his opinion, too, on Friday night. So I love the combo that we have to give NASCAR fans some taste of what is going on here in South Carolina. Meantime, qualifying at Kansas, and Matt Kenseth has won the pole at 192.089, nudging out Kyle Busch. He will start on the outside pole. Carl Edwards, another chaser, he'll start third. Martin Truex Jr. fourth. Then it's Alex Bowman in the 88, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, Ryan Newman, and A.J. Allmendinger. That's your top 10. Kevin Harvick and Austin Dillon round out your top 12. We'll be back. David Shelton is standing by and ready to join in for some football talk, high school style, coming up next. We are back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network on a Friday night here in South Carolina. Time for the high school football report on Sports Talk, and it is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau Insurance, you could be saving a whole lot of money, even if you've received a quote before. Rates are now more competitive than ever. Get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. We welcome in David Shelton from the High School Sports Report in the Charleston Post and Courier. He is on the scene at a high school game tonight. Where are you tonight, sir?
I'm at Goose Creek High School watching Wando and Goose Creek.
Wando and Goose Creek, a game I would suspect that Wando should win.
Well, you would think that, but Goose Creek just pulled a fake punt, and they're going to score a touchdown.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Wow, you're good, Phil.
Wow.
As soon as you come on the air, they take a punt and go 47 yards per touchdown.
Kiss of death cornblute for Wando.
Yeah, Wando's going to love cornblute.
Don't tell Coach Newton that.
I mean, now Wando has the better record, but Goose Creek has played a really tough schedule, so their 1-5 record is a little bit deceiving, but they have struggled, but they have played a really good schedule early.
Okay. Now, how are things down your way, and as far as you know, around the Low Country, the coastal section, the PD, as far as getting in games tonight? Most everybody playing is scheduled?
We're playing here in Charleston. We're playing here in Charleston in the Low Country. No games down the Beaufort Way, no games north of Charleston, which is Georgetown, Florence area. So abbreviated schedule. I mean, all the way from the Midlands up through the upstate is playing, and then right around here in the Tri-County area they're playing.
Gotcha. That's why that extra week was added, and we'll catch those games up. It's going to make for a very long high school football season with state championship games now running deep into December. I don't think we've never had state championship games going into mid-December.
No, we have had them the same day as the Shrine Bowl, but that was back when the Shrine Bowl was before the North-South. The second week it just had the Hugo here. But never have they gone to the 16th and 17th of December. That's pretty late.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some of the other top games of the night around the state. And as I take a look at the schedule, I mean, how can you ignore Spartanburg and Dorman? It's a huge game regardless of the record, and both teams are pretty good. Both are 5-2, so it's a big game in Spartanburg tonight, these two rivals getting together.
They could both be 0-7, and it'd be a big game, but both are ranked in the top 10. Both are have their sights set on that region title. Spartanburg's going to be a busy town tonight because over in Boiling Springs, Gaffney's over there. So there's a lot of good football being played in that area tonight.
What about this Sumter at Carolina Forest game? Are they playing that game tonight at Carolina Forest, or is that one that was postponed?
I'm not totally sure because actually I was checking earlier and I saw two different tweets. So I would suspect that they were not playing, but I don't know that for a fact. I know that that area was without power for a long time, and if you didn't practice enough this week, then you couldn't play. So that's one we'll just have to check between now and 10 o'clock to find out if they actually play. But there are some, you got a couple other good games to be watching tonight. Gilbert is at Strom Thurmond. Both teams are ranked in the top 10. Batesburg Leesville's at Bamberg Earhart. Both teams are in the top 10. Rich and Northeast Ridgeview is a big game in Columbia. I think that's going to be an exciting game to watch. And then you always have no matter how good the two teams are, but both teams are pretty bad. Daniel, that's one of the long rivalries in the upstate, and it's always just a tremendous football game.
Yeah. How about this one, too? In 2A, you've got Cheraw, ranked number 4, at Lee Central, ranked number 7. And Lee Central is 7-0. Now, are they able – I know Lee County was hit pretty hard, too. Are they able to play that game as far as you know?
Not sure. I think they are playing because I saw something. Cheraw sent a email out that something like some game notes type thing. So I would assume they're playing, but and that is if they do play tonight or whenever they play that's going to be a really important game in that region because North Central kind of a surprise at 7. I mean Lee Central kind of a surprise at 7-0, but Cheraw's pretty good. Yeah.
What has made Lee Central unbeaten at this point?
I don't know. It's kind of surprised. I mean, I thought they had some guys coming back, and I thought they'd be, pretty competitive. Now they haven't played tremendously tough schedule. That may help that record. Cheraw is certainly the best team they've played this year, so that's why it'll be a big test to see how that game comes out.
All right. How's your crowd tonight?
It's a typical Goose Creek home crowd. It's not how it used to be a couple years ago, but there's a pretty good crowd, and Wando traveled pretty well, so a little bit of excitement here. I think a lot of people are anxious to see football, so I think that got a lot of people out.
All right, David, enjoy the game. Thank you so much. We look for you tonight with us on the Scoreboard shows beginning at 10 o'clock.
Okay, man. Take care.
Thank you, David Shelton. Reminds me to remind you about the high school scoreboard shows tonight, 10, 10:30, and 11. You get more scores from us in 5 minutes than other places in 2 hours, I promise you. K-Mac, how much did you enjoy doing the scoreboard show last week with not many games?
I enjoyed it. It was easy because I only had 13 games I had to track down, so I got every score. So it was low stress, and of course, David did the heavy lifting, despite the fact that he was riding out a hurricane as we were doing the show. So it went as well as could be expected.
All right, now let's look ahead to tomorrow. Actually, tonight, let's ACC, of course. They got one of their
tight
games. Duke and Louisville. That game's underway. Is there a score in that game yet?
There is a score. 10 points for the Louisville Cardinals, 7 points for the Duke Blue Devils.
Okay, so that gets the ACC weekend underway. Of course, you know NC State at Clemson. You've got Pittsburgh at Virginia. Virginia, after their very slow start, coming to life a little bit. They're 1-0 in ACC play, so they're undefeated in league play. Georgia Southern at Georgia Tech. Boy, I wouldn't be shocked if Georgia Southern won this game, to be quite honest with you, the way Georgia Tech's been going. North Carolina at Miami, we talked about that. Wake Forest goes to Florida State. Okay, we'll see if these are paper deacons or real deacons. See, they're having their best start under this coaching staff at the 2-1 in the league and 5-1 overall. So we'll see what they've got. And Virginia Tech plays at Syracuse. Virginia Tech 2-0 in the Coastal. How about old Justin Fuente and what he's done so far? And that was a pretty good, solid whipping they put on North Carolina. Came back and in 2 ACC games, Virginia Tech 2-0 in the ACC, and they're outscoring their opponents in ACC play 83-3 so far.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good stat right there. I think if they can
Virginia
continue
Tech
at that
feels
pace,
good about you think Virginia Tech feels good about their hire?
Yeah, well, I think they probably do. And the cupboard wasn't completely bare when Beamer left, so it wasn't a complete rebuild job there. They have some history and tradition, and they have the inside track, at least right now, to win that division. So we could see another Clemson Virginia Tech ACC championship matchup down in Orlando in December.
Now, SEC tomorrow, besides what we've talked about, Mississippi State goes outside the league to play at BYU. That's tonight. 9:15 tonight on ESPN. Mississippi State tomorrow.
BYU.
I would think so.
I'm going to watch that game, and then when it ends, I'm going to go ahead and just drive up to Clemson so I get there on time.
Yeah. Tomorrow, Vandy plays at Georgia. You know, Georgia feeling good about getting that win at South Carolina. They'll probably stomp Vandy. We'll see if their hotshot quarterback can throw for 100 yards against Vandy. Alabama, Tennessee, we talked about. Missouri at Florida. All right, they're going to play that game. Missouri off to an 0-2 league start. You got Ole Miss at Arkansas. We talked about that. Southern Miss at LSU. I mean, don't really sleep on Southern Miss. Much improved. Got a good offense playing at LSU. And that's it. That's the SEC schedule for tomorrow. Okay, we'll be back. 800-956-7266. We'll check out some email and some Twitter stuff. Do we have anything on our What the phone line we can listen to? I always enjoy those phone calls.
Yeah, those are always fun.
Yeah, I take it that we don't. Well, get on the line if you haven't called in. We'll be right back.
I don't understand how we're last out of 128 teams. I mean, either, just give the ball, to the running back and just run. You're bound to break through and get more than a 14-point average.
Sports Talk here on a Friday night. Louisville with a 10-7 lead on Duke. They're in the second quarter. They're in Louisville. Louisville looking to score big and keep alive its hopes in the ACC. You can score big with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders has convenient office locations at USC, a new location at Clemson, ATMs at Clemson, Converse, Limestone, PC. Bet you that was used a lot last night with the fans there for the football game at PC, USC, USC Lancaster, Winthrop, and York Tech. Be sure to visit foundersfcu.com for a full listing to find an ATM or office near you. Hey, if you're not a member, visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. All right, a reminder, we get a little busy with basketball next week. We'll be in Nashville on Wednesday. Sports Talk Tuesday night, Wednesday night from Nashville. SEC Basketball Media Day this year in Nashville. Then a week from this coming Wednesday, we'll be in Charlotte for ACC Basketball Media Day. So looking forward to dipping our toes into the basketball stuff here on Sports Talk. Want to remind you, too, that K-Mac will be up at Clemson tomorrow to cover the Tigers and the Wolfpack. 12 o'clock kickoff. You can keep up with K-Mac's, shall we say, always insightful and entertaining coverage of a game on Twitter, on our Twitter feed. See, also on the website, SportsTalkSC.com for post-game coverage. You'll get some of the first interviews from the Clemson locker at SportsTalkSC.com. Also, of course, if you're there and you want to leave us a take on the game over the weekend, of course, we're not on the air, but you can still reach out and touch us on our What the phone line. All right, the number 803-509-2705. 803-509-2705. Leave your comments there, and we'll play them on the air next week. In fact, we've had a caller call in to the What the phone line during Sports Talk tonight. Sometimes folks don't want to call in live on the air. They don't want to wait. They don't want to have a give and take between, the more intelligent people who are hosting the program, all that kind of stuff. So they just leave a comment on the WTF. Actually, it's the, WTF line. We spell phone with an F. I know that's not how you spell it. But so anyway, Jarmart, who do we have, and what does he have to say?
Well, it's just an unknown number. We don't even know
Unknown
where from,
call,
who it is.
Untraceable.
Well, I know that.
Untraceable.
Just play the call, will you? Just play the call.
I don't understand how we're last out of 128 teams. I mean, either just give the ball, to the running back and just run. You're bound to break through and get more than a 14-point average, or go to some of these, talented receivers. There are a couple, and then also, I mean, as the year goes on here, halfway through, aren't they more like what they're going to be next year? Don't you think these kids could gain about 8 pounds each?
Everybody
Buff up even more as the year goes on, and actually, win some games. Just kind of outwork some of these other teams, out weight lift, whatever it takes. Build yourself up, gain weight, at least look bigger on the field, so you don't look like a high school team playing, a college team. So thank you.
This guy fixed it all. It was that simple. Forward that, actually, Jared, go ahead and forward that to Will Muschamp. I think he'll want to hear that, so he can fix the problems here during the open date.
Spending his weekend at his estate out there at Lake Murray, listening to that. All right, thank you very much. That is a prime example of what you get on the What the phone line. Dorman has scored first against Spartanburg, missed the extra point. So Dorman has a 6-0 lead on Spartanburg. Don't forget, all the scores coming up tonight here on South Carolina Radio Network, 10 o'clock, 10:30, and 11 o'clock. We'll have all the scores for you. We'll have the scores posted on the website. We'll have the audio posted on the website as well, and a complete recap of all the scores in the state played tonight on the website, SportsTalkSC.com tonight, with an audio version as well. All right, let's see. Got some email in here that I have been holding on to. So let's read some of this.
Old emails with Kornblut.
Hello, this is from this week.
The Troy game. Phil, what's your take?
Yeah. This is from, looks like his first name is Tiller. Really disappointed in what Gamecock alumni are left holding with this football mess. Steve Spurrier accomplished nothing and left us with nothing. I wouldn't go that far.
Accomplished nothing? He's a winningest coach in school history. That's nothing?
He
won the
should
SEC
refund.
East?
He should refund the salary he did not earn, and it's a shame he will go out with a legacy of destroying our football program. Almost to the degree that Brad Scott did.
Almost. It was so you couldn't destroy it. He already says Brad Scott was worse, so if he destroyed it, he's not looking at
Brad
history.
Scott left after 1-10, and his successor came in.
South Carolina had lost more games than it had won in its history when Steve Spurrier took the job. So the program was pretty well hell-bent on mediocre to bad when he took it over. They won more games than he lost. He won the SEC Eastern Division. They won 11 games 3 straight years, beat a lot of high-profile teams, beat Clemson 5 times in a row. Yeah, other than that, though, I mean, he didn't accomplish anything. I mean, you can still be upset with how things ended with Steve Spurrier without saying that he was a complete flop. And I'll say this about this team now that I've watched them play 6 games, Corn, and you can agree or disagree with this. Steve Spurrier, when he took over for Lou Holtz, there were more playmakers. He had Sidney Rice. He had Co Simpson. They had some playmakers, but top to bottom, they were pretty weak. They didn't have a lot of SEC. I think this team has a lot of solid football players and maybe some potential young guys that can potentially be game breakers, but they don't have any proven playmakers on this team. But top to bottom, that's why they're staying in games. That's why it was a 7-point game against Texas A&M in the 4th quarter, same with Georgia. But they just don't have the game breakers that flip those games, that make those 3 or 4 plays that you have to make to win those types of games. But he didn't leave it completely bare.
Just to wrap up Tiller's email.
Oh, there's more? I thought that was the end. I'm sorry.
No. To even entertain that we need to rebuild after his departure defines what he really accomplished here. All right, let me continue. This is from Richard. I love your update stories on the football recruits for the Gamecocks, but they rarely have the athlete size, and I would really like to know how big they are. Do you have a place where that information is kept so I can refer there while watching something new about them? I think he means watching something new about them. Well, I usually put the sizes in the first time we mention a kid. After that, you're kind of on your own. You can always go to rivals.com, pull up their database, and type in a kid's name and get the size from there. That'll work for you. Okay. I think we have covered everything. Oh, here's one more. This is from Richard. You guys tickle me, especially pro. A&M left 2 big-time receivers at home and an all-world defensive end, and Muschamp is sticking his chest out. Okay.
He's sticking his chest out.
That's what he's with question mark. He said he's sticking his chest out, question mark. All right, that'll do it. Don't forget the scoreboard shows later tonight. K-Mac and Joey Clemson. Everybody, please enjoy your weekend and join us Monday night here on Sports Talk. We'll see you then.